Good evening, and once again, a heartfelt welcome to all of you to this episode of The Last Clue. I hope you and your loved ones are doing well, safe, healthy, and at peace. Tonight's story is something truly strange, something that feels more like a film than real life. We often see bizarre, unbelievable plots in movie stories that make us gasp and wonder, can this really happen? But what if such a story didn't just play out on screen? What if something like this actually happened within the very heart of the film industry? Imagine this: a film idea is born. A complete script is written. The screenplay finalized. The story is ready to be brought to life. But then one by one disturbing incidents begin to unfold. People start calling the script cursed. Not because of what's written in it, but because of what happens around it. Actors drop out, production halts mysteriously, and tragedies strike the people involved. And as time passes, the line between fiction and reality begins to blur. Now ask yourself, in a world like Hollywood, in a country like the United States, filled with logic, money, and power, would people really start believing that a script is cursed? It sounds absurd. And yet, this story will make you question everything you thought you knew about superstition and about the strange powers some stories seem to carry. Because what happened next, no one could have predicted. Our story begins far away amidst the icy silence and haunting beauty of Canada's northern wilderness. In the snow-covered, isolated region of Baffin Island, nestled deep within the Canadian Arctic. Like the folk traditions in many corners of the world, this land too has its own songs passed down through generations, sung around fires, whispered through cold mountain winds. But there's one song in particular that stood out. A melody as chilling as the air itself, and as mysterious as the mountains that echo it. Because this song wasn't just a tune. It was a story, a haunting tale of love, beauty, obsession, and fate. The story spoke of a woman strikingly beautiful who arrived in those remote mountains. No one knew where she came from. She was a stranger to the land, yet her presence seemed to blend with the wilderness, like a spirit born from snow and silence. Among the people who saw her was a young man, native to the region. And from the moment his eyes met hers, something changed within him. He fell deeply, uncontrollably in love. But like many travelers who come and go from mountain towns, the woman soon vanished. She returned to wherever she came from, leaving behind nothing but a memory. Only she didn't know that the boy had followed her. Silently, secretly, he abandoned his village, his home, everything he had ever known, and boarded the very same plane she left in without telling a soul. What happened next sounds like a fairy tale. In a twist of fate, the young man rescued the daughter of a wealthy businessman, and in gratitude, the man helped him rise through the ranks of power and money. In no time, he built an empire of wealth and success. He became a man of fortune, owning businesses, properties, and influence beyond imagination. But fate has a strange sense of balance. Because just when everything seemed perfect, his mind began to slip. He was haunted, not by the past, but by love. A love that never truly belonged to him. That, in essence, was the tale captured in the mysterious folk song of Baffin Island. Locals simply call it Kalmila. But as we'll see, this was only the beginning. Because when a filmmaker tried to turn this song into a movie, the true mystery began. Our story begins far to the north in the rugged, snow-covered wilderness of Canada, on the hauntingly beautiful terrain of Baffin Island. An isolated land of icy winds, towering mountains, and timeless silence. Just as people in different parts of the world had their own regional songs and folktales, Baffin Island too had a song, one that had been sung for generations. But this wasn't just a melody. It was a legend. A story woven into music. It told a tale of a mysterious woman, a woman of rare, breathtaking beauty, who arrived one day in the mountain villages. No one knew who she was or where she came from, only that her presence felt otherworldly, as if the mountains themselves had called her forth. Among the villagers was a young man, quiet, simple, and untouched by the outside world. But from the moment he saw her, he was spellbound. He fell hopelessly in love. Like most visitors, the woman stayed for only a short time. She wandered, she watched, and then like mist fading at dawn, she was gone. But the boy couldn't forget her. Unbeknownst to anyone, he followed her. Without telling his family, without saying goodbye, he boarded the same plane she took and left behind his home forever. Fate, it seems, had plans for him. Sometime later, the young man saved the life of a wealthy businessman's daughter. And in gratitude, the man gave him opportunities he had never dreamed of. Within years, the boy from the mountains became a man of power and unimaginable wealth. He owned businesses. He traveled the world. He had everything except peace. Because as time passed, his heart grew restless. He was haunted by a love that was never truly his. His obsession returned, stronger than ever, until it consumed him. Slowly, he began to lose his grip on reality. This tragic tale, known simply as Calmila, became part of Baffin Island's folklore, a love story wrapped in mystery, sorrow, and fate. But what if I told you someone in Hollywood tried to turn Calmila into a film? And what followed was more terrifying than the story itself. The story, once a folk legend from the mountains of Canada, was now being adapted into a Hollywood film. And the man who brought this haunting tale to life on paper was a screenwriter named Todd Carroll. Carroll's script was powerful, original, and strange. It captivated everyone who read it. Producers were intrigued. A director was locked in. By 1979, the script was completed, and shortly after, it was officially approved for production. The film was titled Atuk, a name as unusual as the story itself. Set in America, Atuk told the tale of an outsider, just like in the Song of Calmila, who comes to a strange land and is transformed by it for better or for worse. The team now had just one major decision to make: who would play the lead role? After much discussion, one name stood out. A man known not just for his talent, but for his larger-than-life personality, John Belushi. Belushi was one of Hollywood's brightest comedic stars at the time. A beloved actor, household name, and a close friend of Todd Carroll himself. In January 1982, the script was handed to John Belushi. He read it. He was blown away. He called it brilliant. He was thrilled by the character, by the dark humor, the layered emotions, and the strange charm of the story. "This is going to be big," he said. He agreed to play the lead in Atuk. With Belushi on board, everything was set. The film was ready to go into production. The wheels of Hollywood had started turning. But then just 2 months later, something happened. Something no one could have predicted. On March 5th, 1982, John Belushi was found dead in his hotel room. The news shocked the entire entertainment world. He was only 33 years old. A rising star, gone suddenly, mysteriously. And what made it more chilling was the timing. He had only recently accepted the role in Atuk. Was it just a coincidence? Or was something darker tied to the script? What happened to John Belushi was only the beginning. The first in a series of tragic deaths, all connected to Atuk. Following the sudden death of John Belushi, an investigation was launched. For weeks, questions swirled. What exactly had happened in that hotel room? How could one of Hollywood's biggest stars vanish overnight? Eventually, the forensic pathology report revealed the cause: a fatal overdose of drugs. But how did it happen? Who gave them to him? Was it an accident or something more sinister? After 2 months of police inquiry, a name emerged: Kathy Evelyn Smith, a woman known in celebrity circles. She confessed she had supplied John Belushi with the drugs that night. What was supposed to be just another Hollywood party ended in tragedy. The case went to trial. 15 months of legal proceedings followed. In the end, Smith was convicted and sentenced. The case may have reached a legal conclusion, but for the film Atuk, it was just the beginning of something far stranger. With Belushi's death, the film's future was thrown into uncertainty. The lead actor was gone before a single frame had been shot. The project was shelved, but not forgotten. 4 years passed. Then, in 1986, the production team decided it was time to revive Atuk. A new actor was chosen, another rising comedic force in Hollywood: Sam Kinison. Kinison was loud, outrageous, and wildly talented, perfect for the bold, eccentric lead role in Atuk. Production resumed. Scripts were reprinted. Sets were built. And after years of delay, the cameras finally started rolling. For 8 days, the team filmed scenes with Kinison. But soon cracks began to appear. Kinison, known for his fiery temper and unpredictable behavior, began clashing with the production team. He accused the director of altering the original script. He claimed important scenes had been changed, scenes that shifted the tone of the story. This kind of conflict isn't unheard of in filmmaking. Directors and actors often disagree. Scripts evolve. But with Kinison, things escalated quickly. Arguments turned into shouting matches. Delays piled up. And eventually, the dispute spilled beyond the studio walls into the courtroom. Legal battles halted production once again. 8 days of filming, and the project came crashing down. The film was once again cursed not by superstition, but by misfortune and chaos. But the story doesn't end there. Because what happened to Sam Kinison next would leave Hollywood speechless. After the legal dispute was settled, the production of Atuk was once again set to resume. Scripts were dusted off, cameras prepared, and the studio prepared to bring the film back to life. But now another 4 years had quietly slipped by. It was 1992. 10 years had passed since John Belushi first accepted the role. And once again, the lead actor Sam Kinison was ready to return and restart filming. But fate had other plans. On April 10th, 1992, tragedy struck again. While driving along a highway in California, Sam Kinison's car was hit head-on by a truck. The truck driver was later found to be intoxicated. The crash was violent, fatal. Kinison died at the scene. He was only 38 years old. Another actor, another life lost. And once again, Atuk was left without a lead. But it wasn't just the crash that made people uneasy. It was what happened in the final moments of Kinison's life, moments witnessed by someone who was right there. A close friend of Kinison's had been driving just behind him in a separate car. Their vehicles were traveling together that night. When the crash happened, the friend pulled over, rushed to the scene, and ran to Kinison's side. What he saw and what he heard would haunt him forever. As he reached the wreckage, he heard Kinison speaking, but not to him. Sam's eyes weren't focused on his friend. In fact, he didn't seem to notice him at all. Instead, he appeared to be staring into empty space as if someone else was there. Someone no one else could see. And then he spoke. "I don't want to die, I don't want to die," he said it not once but 3 times. Pleading, desperate. Then suddenly, as if listening to a voice only he could hear, Kinison said, "But why?" His friend stood frozen. Kinison still wasn't acknowledging him, as if he was holding a conversation with an invisible presence. Then came his final words, okay. And with that, Sam Kinison took his last breath. His friend later recounted this eerie exchange in interviews, shaken by the surreal moment. I don't want to die, but why? Okay. 3 simple lines. But together, they felt like a conversation between this world and whatever lies beyond it. Was it hallucination? A final flicker of consciousness? Or was Kinaisen, like the story of Atuk itself, touching something no one could explain? Another lead actor gone. Another tragic death. And the curse of Atuk grew darker still. What exactly did Sam Kinaisen hear in his final moments? No one knows for sure. But his friend, who was there beside him, believed this much, that Kinaisen wasn't just speaking into the air, he was responding to something. Or someone. Perhaps he was told, "You have to die." And in that moment of confusion, he asked, "Why?" And then as if an answer came, he simply said, "Okay." And just like that, he was gone. That chilling final conversation sparked widespread discussion across Hollywood and beyond. People wondered, was it a hallucination, a spiritual encounter, or something darker? Regardless of what you believe, one thing was now clear. Another actor tied to Atuk was dead. First, John Belushi drug overdose. Then Sam Kinaisen car crash. And yet the production house still wouldn't give up. They pressed on. And in early 1994, the search for a third lead began. Eventually, they approached another beloved comedian, John Candy. Candy was widely respected, charming, funny, and deeply admired in the industry. He agreed to consider the role and asked for the script. It was the beginning of 1994. He read the story. He liked it. He gave his approval. But history was about to repeat itself. On March 4th, 1994, just 2 months after being given the Atuk script, John Candy was found dead. He had passed away in his sleep at just 43 years old, inside his hotel room in Mexico, where he was filming another project. The cause? A sudden heart attack. 3 actors. 3 sudden deaths, all within weeks or months of reading the same script. Some still called it coincidence. After all, death is unpredictable. Hollywood has seen tragedy before, but then something even more disturbing happened. You see, before his death, John Candy had shared the Atuk script with a friend, a fellow actor, and close confidant named Michael O'Donoghue. Candy thought Michael might be perfect for a supporting role in the film. He told him the story, discussed the character, and encouraged him to come on board. And then fate struck again. Shortly after John Candy's death, Michael O'Donoghue also died. At just 54 years old, he suffered a sudden brain hemorrhage. He hadn't signed the film. He hadn't begun any rehearsals. All he did was hear the story. That was enough. 4 men, all connected by a single script. 3 were chosen to play the lead. 1 simply heard the story, and all of them were now dead. By now, people had stopped calling it bad luck. There was something else at play, and the cursed legend of Atuk was just getting started. By now, it was no longer just coincidence. 5 people connected to a single script dead. But the curse of Atuk wasn't finished yet. In 1997, after years of delays, rejections, and unexplainable tragedies, the production house once again tried to breathe life into the Dune project. And this time, the lead role was offered to Chris Farley, a beloved comedian, full of energy, adored by millions for his larger-than-life personality. But this casting came with a strange twist of fate. Farley wasn't just a fan of Atuk's original lead. John Belushi, he idolized him. Belushi was his hero, his inspiration. And now, Farley had been offered the same role Belushi once accepted, the same role that had seemingly marked the beginning of a tragic chain of events. Farley was thrilled. To him, it was more than just a film, it was a chance to walk in the footsteps of the man he worshipped. Once again, pre-production resumed. Once again, hope returned to the set of Atuk. But once again, tragedy struck. On December 18, 1997, just a few months after being handed the Atuk script, Chris Farley was found dead in his apartment. It was his own brother who discovered the body. The cause? A drug overdose, just like John Belushi. And one more disturbing detail, Farley was 33 years old when he died. Exactly the same age as Belushi at the time of his death. Another actor. Another overdose. Another death. And the fifth person connected directly to the lead role of Atuk to lose their life before a single frame of the movie was ever shot. But the curse didn't stop there. Before his death, Farley had shared the Atuk script with his close friend, fellow comedian Phil Hartman, just as John Candy had once shared the script with Michael O'Donoghue, and Michael had died soon after. History was repeating itself. Only this time, it would take a darker, more violent turn. Not long after Farley's death, tragedy struck Phil Hartman's home. On a seemingly ordinary night, Phil's wife made a phone call to a friend. Her voice was calm, almost emotionless. She said, "I just shot Phil. His body is in the room." At first, the friend thought it was a joke. Phil Hartman was a comedian. Maybe this was just another dark bit of humor. But when the friend arrived at the house, the nightmare was real. Phil Hartman had been shot twice by his own wife. He was dead. Two men. Both had read the Atuk script. Both were friends with Chris Farley. And both were now gone. The pattern was undeniable. 6 deaths, all tied to the same screenplay. A film that by now had earned a reputation darker than any horror movie. And no one wanted to go near it again. Phil Hartman's friend had immediately called the police. When the officers arrived at the scene, they found Phil's wife locked inside a room, refusing to come out. Her voice from the other side of the door was cold detached. She said, "I don't know why I shot him. I had no reason, but something inside me said I had to kill him. So I did, and now it won't come out." The police tried to calm her down, begged her to surrender. But she never opened the door. Moments later, a single gunshot rang out. She had turned the gun on herself. And just like that, she too was dead. 2 more lives gone, which meant 7 deaths, all tied directly or indirectly to one script. 5 actors cast in the lead role of Atuk. 2 of their friends who merely read or listened to the script. And 2 of the dead, in their final moments, were reportedly talking to someone unseen, speaking as if they were answering a call no one else could hear. The story had now become bigger than Hollywood. News outlets started to pick it up. Rumors spread like wildfire. People began calling the Atuk screenplay cursed. That anyone who accepted the lead role, or even came close to doing so, would die in one way or another. The speculation ignited fear across the film industry, but not everyone believed it. Todd Carroll, the screenwriter of Atuk, denied all the claims. He called it coincidence, nothing more. He said some died from drug overdose, one in a car accident, one from a heart attack, one from brain hemorrhage, one was shot, another died of illness. These are tragic but unrelated. Yet despite his logic, Hollywood wasn't convinced. As time passed, it became an unspoken rule no one would touch the script. Producers who once fought to bring Atuk to life now backed away in silence. Actors refused to even read the screenplay, let alone audition. Even being offered the role was enough to send shivers down their spines. The fear had settled in. Eventually, United Artists, the studio behind the film, made a decision. A quiet, final decision. They locked the Atuk script in a box, filed it away, and never opened it again. Years have passed, and even now no one dares to revive the film. Not in Hollywood. Not anywhere. So the question still lingers. Was this a chain of coincidences? A tragic set of unrelated events? Or was it something more? A curse? A warning? Something that lives between the lines of a forgotten script? Even today, the mystery remains unsolved. No one knows the truth. All we know is this: one film, one script, 7 deaths, and a story that haunts Hollywood to this very day. Was this just a coincidence? Or was it something darker? Could this script, the one meant to bring laughter to the world, be hiding an ancient curse? Or is it simply a string of bizarre accidents that just happened to follow the same path? Here's what makes this story even more chilling. Every death happened under circumstances that, on the surface, seemed ordinary: a heart attack, an overdose, a car crash, a shooting. Nothing supernatural. Nothing that couldn't be explained away. And yet each death lined up exactly with the timeline of the film. Every time the role of Atuk was offered, accepted, or even considered, something terrible happened. Some say it's just fate. Others believe this is Hollywood's most haunted script. We've seen superstitions in films. We've seen horror stories unfold on the big screen. But never before in real life has a script left behind a trail of death like this. Not in any other production. Not with any other writer. Not with any other actor. And perhaps the most unsettling detail? Out of the 7 people who died, 4 comedians, men who made the world laugh, but who couldn't escape the darkness that followed this script. The film was meant to be a comedy, but now its legacy is anything but funny. So what is this? A tragic coincidence? A cursed screenplay? Or something far more sinister, something we may never fully understand? One thing is certain: Hollywood has never seen anything like this. And now I ask you, after hearing this story, will you believe? Is this just superstition? Deadly coincidence? Or do you think the Atuk script is truly cursed? Let me know in the comments. And maybe, just maybe, your theory will be featured in a future episode. Because this mystery is still unsolved. That's all for today's story. Until next time, stay curious, stay safe, and never ignore the last clue. Then hit that subscribe button now, because the next tale might just be the one that haunts you forever. Subscribe because the truth won't wait. I'll see you next time with another chilling, unforgettable story. Until then, take care of yourself and your loved ones. Thank you for watching.